Rob, it's great to have you.
It's great to be in the box, finally.
Welcome to the
You
box.
guys are like famous. And I'm actually in here now.
Yeah,
It's fun.
welcome.
Oh, we'll see. We've been chatting earlier, you have been 20 years, give or take.
St. Louis.
I mean,
Don't age me. The baby's doing enough of that with the grey hair and the bald patch.
20 years in the voluntary sector, hard to believe.
Yeah.
Hard to believe. Various roles within that sector, but also chief exec leadership roles have been predominant, I would say, throughout that.
Yeah.
And you're now chief exec of, or Scotland director, is that the proper
for
title?
Scotland, yeah.
Which
Thanks for the promotion, though.
Sorry.
Colleagues will love
I know,
that.
I was going to say, like, his boss might not love that, but,
Yeah,
you know.
I'll be getting a phone call
Aye.
tomorrow.
Always
Always happy
happening.
to promote you.
Thank you.
Always happy to promote you. So now Scotland director for the British Red Cross. So that's where you're at now. So tell us a little bit about that role and a little bit about that organisation, and then also over those 20 years, what are some of the challenges that you're now facing that maybe we weren't before?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So British Red Cross, probably one of the best kept secrets in the UK. Everyone knows us for our work in humanitarian space abroad. You know, you turn on the TV just now, you just see what's happening with the conflict in Ukraine, the famine in Sudan, and the conflict in Gaza. You'll see a Red Cross or Red Crescent. But here in the UK, we do a lot of amazing stuff, whether it's helping people get home from hospital. So we know there's a delayed discharge crisis in Scotland. Red Cross are providing services across various parts of Scotland, getting people into their homes when they're clinically well to do that and providing wraparound care. Folk don't know we do that, and I think it's one of the best kept secrets that we've got. But Red Cross also get involved in other things. We provide support to refugees and asylum seekers. Got large services in Glasgow, making sure we're taking a humane approach to supporting people that have often fled conflict. And then storms, you know, we're seeing more storms, more floods, more snow. Aberdeen, poor Aberdeen, I heard in the news, 100 days of rain. You'll mostly see a Red Cross volunteer or staff member helping with a moment of kindness, whether that's a blanket, a hot meal, and providing cash assistance during times of crisis. We do a whole host of stuff across Scotland. It's an amazing organisation. A lot of folk talk about they're really driven to an organisation and its values. When I first joined 3 years ago, folks spoke a lot about our values. They're just itching out of people. You know, people want to be there and deliver that humanitarian approach to support people. In terms of what I've seen in the less than 20 years in this sector, don't age me, please. I think staffing's become one of the biggest issues. You know, funding's always been there, and I don't want to downplay funding because it's an important part. But I think we're living in a world where, because of some political decisions that have been taken for right or wrong reasons, we're finding it really challenging to retain staff from overseas. The staffing environment just now is so complex. People are joining organisations. If they're not for them, they're moving really quickly. The market's quite flexible just now, and that's a massive challenge. And I think because of the world that we're living in just now, organisations like the Red Cross, who promote kindness and communities coming together, are more important than ever, because we're just seeing such division, and it's heartbreaking. I was in one of the sessions this morning with our friends from down in Merseyside, talking about some of the complexities they've had around riots because of misinformation. You know, this is why we need the third sector and the voluntary sector in Scotland to bring communities together, and so important.
Yeah, no, and I guess you talk a wee bit there, you mentioned volunteering. And how does the Red Cross find getting volunteers? Because that seems to be another real challenge for lots of third sector organisations, in that we're asking really busy people to try and give up their time who don't have the time, and then often we end up with people who are maybe come towards the end of their volunteering time who are actually the lifeblood of lots of our organisations, and actually refugees and asylum seekers. I've noticed more and more, because you know they want to work, they want to help, they can't get jobs sometimes, so they're going into third sector organisations. But how do you find getting volunteers and retaining volunteers?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So one of our fundamental principles across the world is volunteerism, and it's all about making sure that everything that we do has volunteers at the heart of it. We attract a certain type of volunteer, folk that want to roll up their sleeves. You know, COVID was a classic example. We had over 15,000 folk roll up their sleeves and help with food parcels across Scotland, help with the COVID vaccination centres. But we've got volunteers that help in our shops as well. I am one for a bargain. It's probably the Scottish genes that are in me, but it's great going into these Red Cross shops, and they're powered by volunteers with amazing stories and passions about their communities. So we try and offer a range of different opportunities, whether that's helping with crises, floods, helping in our shops, or helping with social media and policy. We try, like a lot of organisations, we've had to adapt post-COVID.
Yeah.
Not everyone has hours and hours to give to volunteer for various organisations. So we try and provide micro-volunteering opportunities, which is challenging because it means you don't get that consistency of volume, but it's just so great because you're getting a new generation of folk that might come in to do one specific project and then go to another organisation. And then what we're finding is they then come back round because they've seen another opportunity. But we try and make sure that the Red Cross is a brand people want to associate themselves with. They believe in the work, so that we're here for humanity, but folk can have a bit of fun as well. It's quite, you spoke about refugees and asylum seekers. It can be quite tough stuff that we get involved in. And actually we try and create a sense of community, that Team Red Cross community, so that folk can enjoy their volunteering whilst knowing that they're giving something back to society as well.
And you say, people have different kind of commitments and time levels, but you seem to manage a busy executive role with being a fairly prolific volunteer with the scouting movement. So how do you do that? Like, what are some of the kind of trade-offs there, and how do you manage to do that and have a family and some of the other commitments you have as well?
It's a good thing my wife might not watch this, because she might have a different answer about how well or not I do this. It's difficult. I'm really passionate about the Scouts. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the Scouts. I grew up in Edinburgh, single parent family in the south of the city. If it wasn't for my Scout leader Frank giving me the opportunities that I had, I just wouldn't be in leadership positions. I wouldn't have gone to uni and all the rest of it. So I owe a lot to Scouting, and that's what drives me. Being chief volunteer for international with the UK is quite hard going. I have to balance my time effectively, lots of evening and weekends, but I'm passionate about what I do. Last summer I've got an 11-month-old daughter. She was 4 months on our first Scout camp in Portugal with 8,000 other young people from across the world. So it's about trying to involve family and volunteering as well. And the good thing about the Red Cross and the Scouts is they interlink with each other. Red Cross is an organisation, as I said, fundamentally believes in volunteering, and they're really supportive of me and the work that we do. So yeah, lots of coffee. Because I do international stuff at the Scouts, early morning calls tend to be a thing. Tomorrow I've got a call with a friend in the Asia Pacific region, which is in the early hours. So yeah, you just got to try and balance it. Family's really important as well, though.
Rob, you were talking again, so we know that you've been in leadership roles within the voluntary sector for a few years. Should we say that?
That's polite.
For a few years. So thinking around the work, SCVO has been doing a lot of work around fair funding, which I'm sure you're aware of, and also about our voluntary sector workforce survey, thinking about as a sector, where are we at, what's happening with staff as well as volunteers. But again, those changes for you, I mean, you have also said, not to downplay funding. It has always been an issue for us. There's no getting around that. It's always there. Recruitment and retention is a big issue. We're seeing that. We know we've now got statistics on that about how people are looking at leaving the sector, at jumping ship, about switching jobs as well in there. But for you, thinking in those different roles, what are the key things within that? Is it about sustainability of funding, flexibility of funding? What for you will you think, right, if we just got this one thing, that would be a massive help?
I think it's about equal partnership.
Okay.
The work that Anna and the team are doing around this concordat with the Scottish Government, I would actually rather funding wasn't part of that, and it was about equal partnership. The Red Cross deliver fundamental services that support the NHS, health and social care. We're not an add-on, we're absolutely part of the system. And if we can get to a place where the third sector is seen as that equal trusted partner, I think the other stuff will come with time. That might be a bit naive, but I just feel I go into meetings after meetings and funding's always an issue. It's an issue for us, our contracts. Some of our commissions are for a year to 3 years, and you're trying to chase whether or not you'll get the funding back again, and the uncertainty that has for staff. But for me, it all comes down to being that trusted, valued partner. And if the Concordat stuff that Anne and the team are doing can have that at the heart of it, I think that'll help us a long, long way. You know, I've been a chair of a small charity, I've been a chief exec and now director. Yeah, funding is a fundamental thing, but it's all about trust and that mutual respect.
And thinking about that, the recruitment issue and our retention issue, again, what would you like to see happening in the sector? Because for me, I've done quite a lot of work working in the digital evolution field that I work in around thinking about the next generation, Gen Zers coming in. They're all values led. They're all about values. They're all about work-life balance and values led. We say that we're all about values as organisations, but we don't seem to be particularly good at telling anybody who's not in the sector that we are. That's my view. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think we have a lot to offer young people and adults that want to get a career in the third sector. I think it's mission driven, so we're not about making money, we're about supporting people. And I think as a sector we need to do a lot more to actually talk about the value of our work for not just the Scottish economy, but actually our wider communities. I think in settings like this at the gathering, it's great that sharing examples of good practice that's going on, but where in the BBC, STV, the Herald or other great newspapers that are out there are you reading about the projects that are going on that are actually making a massive difference in folks' lives? And I think if we can start to showcase some of that, that will bring out what we stand for as a sector, and it'll attract more people into third sector jobs. I could not imagine working for any other sector. This is the best sector to work in. I have loved every organisation that I've been part of, both as a staff member or as a volunteer. Yes, there's been challenges, but I know when I go to work or when I go to volunteer, I'm actually giving something back, and that's what drives me.
I think that was one of the stats from the voluntary sector workforce was around, one of the highest stats was around the fact that we do feel like we're making an impact. We feel like the jobs that we do does lead to real change. And that's one of the drivers for us to keep coming back and keep doing the jobs that we do. And I think with a lot of the jobs that you've had, that impact has been key with the organisations that you work for, have been able to show that impact and see that this is what we do. And that for me, I think, is something as a sector we're just starting to get better at, most of us, because we tend to have been, my view would be funder led, so we're all about the outcomes that way, as opposed to the outcomes showing other people, look at this, we're showcasing, look at all this work, come and work for us, we're amazing. We're so colourful.
And it's added benefits as well. So yes, salary is important, and I think as a sector we do pay fair wages, but it's the added stuff. Yes, there's the nice, we're giving back to society, we're doing well, but if I think about some of the added benefits, I'm really lucky, and I know this isn't the case across all third sector organisations. When my child was born, we get 10 weeks on top of the 2 weeks paternity of secondary carer leave. That time is just so important. If we're saying as an organisation we value family, community, young people, actually my organisation's put their money where their mouth is and said, your family's important to you, it's important to us, here's some protected time for you to go and spend with your family. Have I been good in taking all that time? I'm not going to comment on that, but the fact it's there is really important. So I think taking out some of the additional added benefits that we offer as a sector as well. Flexible working from home, getting the opportunity to see various communities in Scotland, it's all stuff that we should be shouting more about.
Rob, I'm interested in culture for an organisation that is obviously a national, UK-wide and international organisation, but you operate as a Scotland director. Like, what is that culture different when you traverse through the organisation, and how do you retain the elements that are pivotal to the mission of the organisation while still being distinctive enough in Scotland to support the work that you're doing?
It's interesting. So when I moved from my last role where I was CEO into this role, it was a massive culture shock, because as CEO for a small charity you can move,
calling all the shots.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's agile. You can talk to the finance person and you've made the decision.
Exactly.
And it's going to happen.
And that's it. When you move into an organisation like the Red Cross, it is a big machine, not only across the UK, but you've got this global network of 192 societies. So it does come with our challenges, but for us, I would like to think if you went into any of our offices, spoke to any of our staff and volunteers, they would all say that they're here for humanity, and that's the driving thing for us. It's not just a slogan for us. We all are here.
So there's a golden thread that you could run
Absolutely.
through wherever you are.
And that's the case across the world. You know, I see videos that go up for various Red Cross, Red Crescent societies. I've had the privilege of seeing friends in the Portuguese Red Cross and the Korean Red Cross. And again, it's that humanity and approach that comes through. So for us, that culture isn't just a slogan, it's really felt. The bureaucracies in every organisation, folk listening would think he's lying if he said it didn't exist in the Red Cross. It does. You get used to it and you try and navigate ways around it. And I'm a big one for asking for forgiveness rather than permission, which gets me in trouble.
Maybe in good company in this room,
Well,
I think,
exactly, but it works, and it's as long as it's done for the right reasons, then that's important.
Absolutely. I've got some questions just around thinking about SCVO and the membership. Again, organisations you've worked for in the past and been leader of, and with Red Cross, they are members of SCVO, some of them long-standing members of SCVO. What keeps them coming back? What keeps that? What do you get out of it?
SCVO for me is one of the gems of the sector, and I'm not just saying that because you're giving me some M&Ms and a free water bottle, but I just think having that safe space for folk in the sector to come together and talk about the big issues is just so important. And any organisation that I've been part of, when I've been a decision maker, we've made sure that we're a member. Purely for that reason. Nowhere else can I get the opportunity to mix with civil society leaders, politicians, business leaders, and the opportunity to help influence policy. It's just all here at SCVO. The briefings that come out are spot on, which is great. I was part, in fact, where we first met, the Digital Leaders Programme many moons ago. That was just such an exciting space for me, as I think I was just in my first leadership role, and that was such an exciting space to go into with peers, talk about some of the nervousness about digital. In fact, AI wasn't even spoken about then. That's probably aged both of us. Yeah, these opportunities just to come together are so important. So for me, SCVO is one of the organisations that I have no hesitation in joining in. We've not used things like the payroll service in HR because organisations that I've been in have had those opportunities, but the events, the briefing and the networking is very much needed.
If there's one thing that we could do better.
The value of the sector. Going back to the question that came up earlier,
Okay.
I would like SCVO to be shouting for the rooftop about actually, if we include the 25,000 charities, all the hours, all the work you do, what does that deliver for Scotland? The private sector and various special interest groups are really good at doing that for their sectors. I would love to see SCVO doing more of that and more about shouting about the work we're doing in local communities. That's my big ask.
We'll let Anna know.
Yeah.
You've probably already said it.
I don't know already.
And I've got.
We could probably keep going, but
I know.
I
Do you
feel
want
like,
to go?
well, I think maybe last kind of substantive question, but you've travelled a lot, you've seen lots of the world. What are some of the things you see in other places that you think, do you know what, if we could do that in Scotland, we would accelerate the impact we were making?
What a question. That is a good question. So going back, this was probably pre-COVID, and I was at one of the universities in the west of Scotland, and we had someone from Catalan speaking. And effectively, what they were doing, this is so niche, but stick with me.
I like it.
They basically were talking about how, as a citizen, they all had a digital health record.
Okay.
Something simple, and it meant you and I could go on, log in, oh, I've had a blood test, here's the results, and it's listed. I need a hospital appointment, done. It's all booked through this app. It baffles me that in Scotland, if I've got a health condition, I have to tell my story over and over again, whereas in Catalan, they had this single digital record that followed you round. And it meant you had transparency to see what health professionals were saying, and they all had the story, so you weren't telling it. So for me, if we could learn that lesson from Catalan, I think that'd be good. I was in a session this morning, I know you said one, but I'll give you two. I was in the session this morning with our colleagues from the Welsh version of SCVO, talking about the Concordat they've got.
Right.
I know Anna and the team are taking great strides with the government to get that. If we could get that here in Scotland, I think it'd be game changing.
Final 2 questions, Rob. 3 words that describe Scotland's essential voluntary sector.
Vibrant, exciting, impactful.
Super.
And 3 words to describe the gathering this year.
The gathering this year, energetic, hilarity, and informative.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks
Been
for
great.
inviting me. It's been
Oh,
fab.
Rob, it's always a pleasure.
It is.